Back when I first began talking to you about the synthetic biology takeover of what I thought was a food system, but is everything really, one of the things that we were showing was how there was already baby formula on the shelf containing what's said to be a structurally and biologically identical version of the human milk sugar 2-fucosyllactose, or 2FL. Already producing their so-called bioidentical 2FL, these companies are also now producing 3FL, 3SL, 6SL, human lactoferrin, and more. And they don't intend to stop there. They say they see opportunities spanning food and beverage, medical nutrition, dietary supplements, pharmaceuticals. These mad scientists said they were using their technology to solve microbial imbalances in the human infant microbiome, and they wanted to be there throughout the human life cycle, as well as for similar problems in animal species. They said their products were developed to restore the human infant microbiome to its natural state. We already know what these people classify as natural, and it's full on their science experiment. Some of their creations are said to still be in development, while others have been being added to these so-called premium infant formulas since 2016. The Boston-based company Conagen. Did you know that Boston is said to be the #1 city in the world for biotech? Anyway, they say that their methods are different from other synthetic biology companies. Mad Science is going one step further. They're pitting one experiment off of another, and they're saying how these HMOs, the human milk sugars, can also be made using enzymes, which they made, rather than making them with engineered microbes. The people at Conagen say that most companies torture the heck out of their E. coli and yeast, trying to make every molecule they can think of, but that the philosophy at Conagen looks at nature to try and find an organism that's already making something as close to the desired molecule as possible, and then they use enzymes in a bioconversion process. And they say this method is considered non-GMO.
And then next, we make great utility out of bioconversions. That is just our word for cell-free synthetic biology, where we take the enzymes and biochemical pathways out of a cell and put those into a bioreactor on their own. When you have no organism in the bioreactor, you don't need to worry about things like product inhibition of cell growth. You don't need to worry about things like GM labels, for instance. There's no organism in a non-GMO label.
Now, I don't know if their 2FL and their other HMOs for sure got the label, but all sorts of products of enzymatic actions, this bioconversion process, are non-GMO project verified, even though they've said that any product of synthetic biology does not qualify as non-GMO. But Conagen said that their other enzymatic processes have met the non-GMO project criteria for food ingredients. When I see Conagen reinventing baby formula with so-called non-GMO enzyme bioconversion technologies, and how they're also teamed up with Novaloop and DARPA for their resource program, which we've covered, there's a link to that in the sources, and they're leveraging Conagen's proprietary fermentation technology to convert plastics and other energy-dense waste into valuable, reusable materials, it makes me kind of uneasy. A VP at Conagen is quoted as saying that while the DARPA-funded project is for the troops first, this technology should support humanitarian efforts with renewable sources of food, nutrition, and water. Under the Department of Defense, the U.S. Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, DARPA, their Biological Technologies Office created the Resource Program to explore using a combination of synthetic biology and chemical technology to turn waste into critical supplies. I can't help but picture the headlines talking about the critical formula shortage. Companies like Nestle, Danone, Christian Hansen, and more have been making enzymes, the catalysts for creating the foods, household products, prescription drugs, and more in our lives for decades. Nowadays, they're making their enzymes using the patented synthetic biology living factories. Look at Ginkgo Bioworks and their Ginkgo enzyme services. They're using ultra-high throughput screening and machine learning guided protein design with their proprietary bacterial and fungal host strains to discover novel enzymes. Using their FrankenLife factories to replace existing chemical synthesis steps to optimize the manufacturing of enzymes for reduced cost of goods and environmental impact. The laboratory that brought us CRISPR-Cas9 gene editing a decade ago has now found a way to do what they're calling community editing, adding or modifying genes within a community of many different species simultaneously. And among other ways that they could use this to edit the world, they talk about their work in genetically altering microbial populations like the gut, inserting genes into microbes in the gut to fix digestive problems. Brings to mind their HMO biotics and how they say they're designed to act in a certain way. Science experiments in babies' guts. When they know that the gut is the root of our health and our mental well-being, they're tailoring babies, or at least working out the kinks in their plans on them. And they expect you to just trust the science and feed this to your babies, and eventually you'd eat it too. So they're calling them HMO biotics. HMO biotics are defined as the combination of these lab-created human milk sugars and probiotics, which are also lab concocted, and they interact directly or indirectly in a specific way. The people crafting tiny biological factories designed to trip the body's chemical cascades and steer it to their desired outcome, they say this is an opportune time for research. They're creating more milk sugars and matching them up with their so-called probiotics. There's all of these companies, names that you probably know, and they've all got their patented strains of probiotics, often testing them out on little Bangladeshi children before releasing them to the rest of the world. And how curious how with all of these gut life trials going on in Bangladesh, shock and amazement, researchers there have discovered novel strains of gut bacteria in infants and children. Infinite Health, formerly known as Evolve Biosystems, says that they are revolutionizing human health by harnessing the unique power of the infant gut in the first 100 days of life, and that they are changing the trajectory of human health one baby at a time. They did their human trials and worked with key opinion leaders and the medical community to introduce their products into hospitals first, and then to the consumer market. And they want to get it into breastfeeding babies too. Naturally, Evolve Biosystems, now Infinite Health, was initially funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and Cargill, which they say is helping them to scale their impact. There's bioengineering companies like Nemua, human spelled backwards. They were formerly known as Sugar Logics.
So two aspects we use to, I guess, communicate why our organisms or our products are safe and thus should be used, can be used widely in infant formula. One is that it contains no genetic material whatsoever in the final product. Mm-hmm. So there is no difference between the molecule that we make and the molecule that is found in human milk. So that makes it very safe. Additionally, we're not just introducing the genetic manipulations to, I guess, I don't know, for example, cut cost for us. We're trying to do something that that is just very difficult to do outside of a human body, thus the need for genetic manipulation. So I think that really justifies our case to have to adopt to this means of processing.
And their Project Breast Milk. They were getting breastfeeding mothers to donate milk so they can develop their proprietary precision fermentation technologies to replicate breast milk nutrients. They say they're on a mission to craft an infant formula structurally identical to human milk. According to regulations and definitions, these biosimilar milk sugars that are being pumped out of genetically engineered microbes like E. coli in fermentation tanks are not considered GMO. We showed years back how if there's no detectable trace of the Franken microbe in the final product, then it's not considered a GMO. Singapore's Turtle Tree Labs is working at culturing milk in the lab using mammalian cells, focusing on developing a human-free version of breast milk for babies and animal-free growing up milk for toddlers. And they don't intend to stop there. They say they're looking to address the needs of elderly and adults with future products. No big surprise, it's reported that Turtle Tree got government permission to continue its research and development work during Singapore's COVID circuit breaker lockdown. Biotechnology companies thrived around the world while so many people suffered and their lives were upended and reset. There is a European-style organic infant formula company called Bobby. They sell direct to consumer, and they say that this is the product parents have been waiting for. It sounds nice, organic. They say Bobby isn't alone in the organic baby formula space, that other startups are gaining ground like ByHeart, BioMilk, and Helena. Tell me if this is what you would think is in the organic space. Helena programs their Franken yeast to develop so-called human-identical proteins, and they say that they're the first company to bring human proteins to food. BioMilk is said to be the world's first cell-cultured human milk outside of the breast. And ByHeart says they're disrupting the category. They've already been FDA approved and have sold their formula to customers in all 50 states. Some of these companies, like South Africa's De Novo Dairy, say that consumer education is going to be a big part of their marketing strategy. Companies like De Novo and Perfect Day Foods, the one that started this whole synthetic biology takeover of the world research for me, they plan to partner with established brands. They want to be an ingredient in the products that you already know and trust everywhere. They say that when biomedical engineer Maya Ashkenazi Otzmogen was nursing her first child, she got the idea to harness the health benefits of breast milk, but in food and wellness supplements for adults. So she and others founded in 2018 Maulak, an Israeli food tech startup. Maulak says they're creating a superfood from bovine colostrum, or plant-based analogs, identifying and extracting functional proteins using a proteomics discovery platform and computational biology. I wonder which will be cheaper and greener, the cows or the vats. They say their milk protein mixture is suitable to add to food, even cooked foods like pasta, without losing functionality. They've been working on anti-inflammatory aids, one for athletes and one for the elderly. Those products are expected to hit the market in 2023. And there's also Persephone Biosciences and their My Baby Biome study. They say the My Baby Biome study was designed to help define a healthy infant microbiome. But what if mom is already ingesting their synthetic life and that's what she passes on to the baby? They also say the My Baby Biome study will provide a foundation for Persephone Biosciences' infant health programs, including specialty formulated probiotics and future initiatives with third-party partners. They say they're going to follow the child for 7 years, with parents informing about health issues their child experiences. I can totally see this whole FrankenFormula nightmare being accepted by these most conditioned generations. They've been programmed by the schooling, devices, and their entertainment. I'm afraid they'll eat it right up and they'll feed it to their babies. Gut control from birth. Think of how they'll mold these children, evolve them. That's why the last video I made covering this part of the nightmare was called What Keeps Me Up at Night. There's just no telling what will come of all this, and it scares me. All of this that these entities are doing, rewriting the life of this planet from the tiniest beings and up with synthetic biology, it all hinges on these global computation-based systems. If all the internets of the world went away and the machine learning was no more, maybe we'd have a chance to save ourselves. Sure, we'd have what's already been released into the wild. This experiment has long since been started. But what these people say they want to do, I doubt it would end well for anybody. I wanted to bring you a solution because it shouldn't be all the nightmare. But then I was frustrated to see the homemade baby formula recipe from the Weston Price Foundation includes probiotics, the laboratory life and things. So I'm certainly not telling anybody what to do or what to feed their baby. But if you're unable to breastfeed, can you maybe get a goat or do a goat sharing thing? I'm just thinking that a good quality raw animal milk cannot possibly be worse than this stuff that they concoct in their labs. And if you had a goat, you wouldn't need a lawnmower anymore. So there, that's totally clean and green and sustainable. So where do we go from here? For starters, maybe go read Richard Clarke's 2007 book Breakpoint, a too close to reality work of fiction, and then let me know who you see as the real threat. And then decide for yourself which side of this tech-based future you'd like to be on. Do you support the re-engineering of all life, not just starting with the smallest creatures, the microorganisms, but also the smallest humans, where the babies are the guinea pigs? Or do you say no and want to be part of stopping it, taking a hard look at how the tentacles have worked their way into your life and doing whatever is in your power to shut that down? Because you can't just sit on the sidelines and ignore that this is happening. That's a choice. That's choosing the rewrite and the guinea pig babies. Please consider sharing this video and the source links, which you can find in the description box below and at pleasestoptheride.com. Thank you for listening.
Okay, I think we'll stay tuned. I think what I would put forth that both of you have spoken about is this is different. Yes, the human species has evolved. We have blue eyes and other things that have occurred over time, mutations. But I think, as you've said, Peter, and I quoted you today, we now have something that we know if we do this, this will happen, rather than just a natural evolution of mutations that have occurred. And therefore, one has to assume that new species are on the potential to be created over the next few years with this technology. We have addressed many different issues at the conference, hundreds of them over the last 4 days. This issue, what is the future of the human species with the power that's available to us today? And will we perpetuate the human species on Earth, on another planet? Are great, exciting roads for us to travel, and as Juan said it, we're just going to do it. Thank you very much for that.